This is something that can be quite interesting to discuss in terms of free will. For example, if you just think about someone forcing you to do something, putting a gun to your head and making you do something, they are sort of taking away your free will. It's not that you don't have any, even in a compatibilist sense. It's just that there is someone removing part of your free will, at least temporarily. So, if you were they forced you to do something immoral, you could say that you're not as responsible, depending on what it is. Maybe you're not responsible at all, because they forced you to do it. They are the agent with the responsibility. When it comes to things like the economy, something costing something isn't really the same thing as not having free will. You can still work towards being able to afford something. Not being able to afford a particular thing, especially financially, doesn't mean that you don't have free will. But it is an interesting way to think about things, because again, it is a limit that we have. There are always limits in the conversation of free will. We are limited by physics. We can't just suddenly grow wings and fly. That doesn't mean that we don't have free will. You can want to fly, and you can choose to become an airline pilot and learn to actually fly. Not physically, like yourself, by growing wings or being Superman, but in a sense you are flying. And so, economical restrictions, yes, I suppose you could say there are times that they limit your ability to act on free will, but I'm not sure you could say necessarily that they fully limit your free will. Now, there are other things that you could say are potentially a cost of free will in itself. Freedom isn't free. There are certain things that maybe you have to do. The hidden costs can be anything. They could be the fact that you want to live in a civilized society. So there might be certain things that you cannot do, even though you want to, because you have a stronger desire to be in a civilized society. Perhaps some of those costs for your desire to live in a civilized society are things that perhaps you would not choose to do, and you are forced to do things that, I guess, against your will. There are always checks and balances. As I was saying in the previous video, an understanding of morality might be something that alters your choices, and in fact it can even reduce your overall choices. Whilst our desire to be moral may limit some of our choices, that's not saying it's removing our free will. In fact, we're acting on our free will because we want to be moral. And yes, there might be other things that we want to do, but our desire to be moral is overriding. So there is a cost there. You can't do certain things and still be a moral character, but it's your decision to be moral. Now, there may be other hidden costs involved in living in a society and so on. There may be things you don't realise are costs, but then is it not your responsibility to try and find out as much as possible? And yeah, you're right. Sometimes it's too late. Sometimes the cost has already been paid and you're stuck and you can't get a refund. But again, that doesn't mean there isn't free will.